Go to the book of Romans. We go to the book of Romans, and this is what we're going to pretty much close with, kind of, because I want to share something with you, because you might be thinking, oh man, this guy's off, this guy's kind of messed up, jacked up. But what I want to tell you is this: when you look at Caucasian Jews, when you look at European, when you look at white Jews, okay, they're not Hebrew. They're not of the lineage of Abraham, but they were sucked in as well. They were brought in, now they're included into the lineage. And a lot of folks, and you can sign on and become Jewish, become of the Jewish religion, but I'm telling you, even if you don't, you are still probably in the lineage of Abraham, part of that seed that was scattered, and has basically assimilated you into the lineage of Abraham. For real, we need to know that. Now look at this we want to close with, the book of Romans, the 11th chapter. And this is Paul speaking to the church in Rome. And he's saying, let's see here, the 11th chapter, the 13th verse. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office. Okay. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. Here we go. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. Okay, what it's saying here is, it's using a tree, an olive tree. This is like God, the promise, Abraham, everybody, Israel. This is Israel prior to the split between Israel and Judah. They were broken off. See, we've always taken this, and here's another one, another myth that we were raised to believe. And I was raised in the church, so I mean, I'm not speaking, out of I think this is what they're being taught. This is what we were raised to believe, that you had the tree of salvation or whatever, Jesus, and the Jews wouldn't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, and so they were broken off, and we were grafted in on the vine in their place. And so that's why we're okay, and they're not. And that's what we believe. That's what we were taught. That's what we've always believed, and it's still being taught today. That there's a particular vine, and since the Jews didn't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, the Son of God, they were broken off, and we, Gentiles, were grafted in their place. But that's not what that's saying. What this is saying is, and if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. The olive tree is holy. What this is saying here, this is the 11th chapter of Romans, and this is the 17th verse. What it's saying here is you have this olive tree, you have this vine, that's holy. If the branches were broken off, it's not saying that you were grafted in their place. It's saying that you were grafted in among the broken branches. That's what it's saying right here, Romans 11, the 17th chapter. The branches were broken off, and you, Gentiles, were grafted in among the broken branches. What I'm telling you, this is Israel. The broken branches, they were broken off. That leaves Judah. Okay, this was a split between Judah and Israel. So Israel were the branches that were broken off, the idolatrous branches that began to be scattered over planet Earth. And amongst the scattering, these branches, we were grafted in among the broken branches. That's what it says. And it says, if the first fruit be holy, so is the root, and so are the branches. So what it's saying here, even Israel, these broken off branches, they are still holy. It's Israel. It's the Son. It's that Son that ran away from the Father. He's still the Son of the Father who was out looking for the Son to return at any time, right? So the branches that are broken off Israel are still holy. We are sown in, the Gentiles, among the broken branches. So we are made holy because we're sown in among Israel, the branches that are broken. And how are we sown in among the broken branches? Because even in their idolatrous state, they were scattered because of their punishment over planet Earth. You're talking a period of like almost 4,000 years, and the seeds that began to mix, that began to intermingle with the broken branches, that's us, the Gentiles, being sown in among the broken branches who are still holy. It's like that prodigal son that left home into a faraway land and had kids and had kids and had kids. So when he came home more than just the one that's left. Now he came home with all this offspring that was now assimilated into this father's lineage because of who he intermixed with. You see what I'm saying? We need to see that that planet Earth has been leavened because of idolatrous Israel. Not Judah, hence the Jews, but Israel. And God is talking all through, the prophets are talking about the day that Israel and Judah come back together. When Israel and Judah come back together, Israel has assimilated planet Earth into Israel, into the lineage of Abraham. So when Israel and Judah come together to make one Israel once again, that's you and that's me. We are that. Do you see? Do you see what I'm saying? We need to recognize that for sure, because the problem we have is, especially when we go to the Middle East, we go into the wars and we think, we're helping Israel because of the Bible, because we're Judeo-Christians, so we're helping them, because the Bible says if you help Israel, you're going to be blessed. If you come against him, we're going to be cursed. But we don't recognize just about everybody over there, including us, we are Israel. We are Israel. We just don't know it. We don't recognize the Jews are of Judah, and Israel is everybody else that's been assimilated into the lineage of Israel, the lineage of Abraham. So we're helping what we call Israel today fight against those who are Israel who may not even know it. So at the time we're thinking we're taking on blessings, we're really taking on curses, okay? And even Israel themselves, that when you fight against Israel, even Israel, if you are of the lineage of Israel, and you probably are, being Jews or otherwise, you're still fighting against Israel. That's why Jesus said, love your enemy. Because your enemy doesn't realize this. You probably don't either. But even if you don't realize it, if you just do what I say and love your enemy, you're going to be covered. Because you're not going to be cursed for cursing your enemy. You're going to be blessed for loving your enemy, who is Israel as well. I know it's kind of heavy. This is some truth here. Some truth that will make you free. It's very important. And let me look at it. Let me throw it at you in another little way. So we look at that. We look at the slave trade in America, and with the slave trade in America, that's made a lot of people angry. Especially African Americans in this country. But we look at the region over there in the Middle East and Africa and all that. That's the seed of Abraham was heavy in that area. Okay, so by the time the slave trade came, the slaves were brought to America. That seed of Abraham, that seed of Israel, had assimilated all kinds of people into the lineage of Israel. By that time, by the time the 1600s, when the slaves were being brought to America, that seed of Israel, idolatrous Israel, had been scattered all over that region, all over Africa, all over the Mideast, even up into China through trade, even up and through Europe through conquest. That seed, the seed of Israel, had been assimilating the nations into the lineage of Abraham, into the lineage of Israel. That's what all the nations would be blessed by, according to what God gave to Abraham. And so by the time the slaves came to America, really what had happened was, when we thought we were trying to be assimilated into the American society, even through, emancipation, really the slaves were assimilating the Americans, the Caucasians and otherwise, into the lineage of Abraham and Israel, making those that were in America part of the promise as well through the slaves. So the slaves, as terrible as things may seem, were really being used tremendously by God for the purpose of assimilating the Americans into the lineage of Israel, into the lineage of Abraham as well. Well, I thank you for joining me for this controversial program.